And I'm sure all parents and caregivers who joined us today want our child to thrive both physically and mentally. And how your child eats today will have an effect on their health, both now and in the future. You are what you eat is the popular mantra that rings true for all, especially in the next 6 years of life when children are growing at a phenomenal rate. The brain is developing fastest in the first 6 years of life, which will predict how he will understand his lessons in school and kung paano siya magiging productive as a worker in adult life. So let's listen to our two experts who can help us with this topic. Excited na ako. So let us welcome our speakers this morning. I'm honored to introduce first Dr. Mary Jean Guno, who is a pediatric gastroenterology and nutrition consultant of the Institute of Pediatrics, the Medical City. She's also a guest faculty of Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health and the past president of the Philippine Society of Pediatric Gastroenterology, Hepatology, and Nutrition. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Mary Jean Guno. Good morning, Doc Jean. Kumusta na po?
Hey Junie, at magandang umaga sa lahat ng ating nanonood from all over the Philippines, including Sabah, Malaysia.
Wow, meron pang Sabah, Malaysia, Doc. Naku, I'm sure matutuwa sila because they will learn a lot after this session. And later on, Doc, I will talk to you again, moving on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Dr. Karen Sofia Mercado. She is an active consultant in pediatric gastroenterology and nutrition at the Medical City, Makati Medical Center, and Philippine Children's Medical Center. She is also a guest faculty of Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health. Doc Karen, I welcome you. Our participants, let's all welcome Dr. Karen Sofia Mercado. Hi, Doc Karen. Okay, I think na offline si Doc Karen, no? We'll wait, no? We'll wait for her. Hopefully,
Hi, Doc Junie, I made it.
Yes, Doc. Buti naman po.
It's a morning of technical difficulties for
Oo
everyone.
nga, Doc, no? Although, Doc, I can see you.
There, I see you now.
Okay.
Good morning, Dr. Guno and Dr. Junie, and to everyone here with us in Zoom and the Facebook and DepEd Facebook sites as well. We're happy to be here with you to learn about smart feeding.
Yes, Doc. Thank you, no? So, of course, I would like to introduce myself first. No, I'm your moderator, Dr. Annalyn Junio. I'm a pediatric consultant at the Medical City Institute of Pediatrics and their satellite clinics. I'm also a feeding clinician and a developmental screening clinician at the Center for Developmental Pediatrics. Again, a warm virtual welcome to all our participants. And I'm sure Doc Jean and Doc Karen, no, before we start, gusto kong malaman kung ano yung sa tingin ng mga audience natin. What do they think are the foods that can make their child smarter? Pwede bang pakitype sa chat box natin? Gusto nating malaman ano ba yung sa tingin nila. Veggies and fruits from Miss Alisa, no? Oo nga, peanuts, no? Okay. What else? What do you think? Sa tingin nyo, meron pa ba? Aside from the veggies and fruits? Iron. Uy, ito, medyo technical, Doc Jean. At saka Doc Karen, iron and omega-rich foods. Berries, yogurt. Okay, thank you for your response, no? So, bukod po doon, gusto ko din malaman, do you feel that you need to spend your money for your child to eat smart, no? Can you type in yes or no? Yes, sabi ni Miss Zeros. Okay. And sabi din ni Miss Anna, yes. Okay. Ganun din kay Miss Rachel. Okay. Nako, Doc Jean, based on the responses, most of our audience, most of our participants are willing to spend money in order for their child to eat smart. But is it really needed? Is it possible that kids can be smarter than their parents? Doc Jean?
Definitely, Dr. Junie. In the first 5 years of life, na dun yung fastest growth, 20% lang ang impact ng genetics. 80% ang impact ng environment, including nutrition. And ang pinaka-evidence nito, I'm sure lahat kayo nagkaroon ng family members who have actually migrated to a first world country. No? How come na the children became taller o kaya they became more intelligent than their parents when actually they're from our country? No? Yung genetic lineage, Filipino sila. So yun yung greatest evidence that the potential of every child all over the world is the same.
Okay. So it's interesting to note na hindi lang pala genes ang importante to make our children smarter and taller, no? Hindi pala dapat maging confident na kapag matalino yung magulang, it will follow na matalino yung anak. So it is really important to have good nutrition and environmental stimulation early on. Now, I would like to ask Doc Karen, can you tell us more about good nutrition? What do we need to fuel our child's growth and development?
Doc Junie, nakita ko sa chat box kanina, a parent or an educator mentioned Go, Grow, Glow foods. Those are the
Wow.
basics we learned in school and our educators are teaching in school. And essentially, that's what fuels growth and development, no? The well-balanced and all the nutritious foods that we can give our parents. And we divide them into Go, Grow, Glow foods. Essentially, that makes us remember na energy comes from certain aspects of the food. They are called macronutrients. So there's energy from the three major macronutrients: proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. No? So these are the three primary macronutrients that we need to think about for the kids that we feed.
Okay. Aside from macronutrients, Doc, meron pa bang kailangan to fuel growth and development?
Meron pa, Doc Junie, syempre micronutrients are also important. Ito yung mga vitamins and minerals. Hindi totoong kailangan bumili ng mahal na vitamins para sa lahat ng mga bata, no? Kasi ang micronutrients nasa healthy food. Kaya lang in this era of picky eating, no, at saka difficult feeding, nahihirapan ng mga batang makumpleto yung kanilang micronutrient needs sa pang-araw-araw. Kung nahihirapan silang i-provide to sa katawan nila dahil nga hindi sapat ang kanilang nutrition, nagkakaroon ng consequences. That's why as educators, as pediatricians, we'd like to really enforce that knowledge na pang-araw-araw dapat sapat yung nakukuhang micronutrients sa mga bata. Kasi they're at risk of things like low birth weight, high mortality rate, mabilis mamatay, no, soon after birth, and also increased risk of recurrent infections, even until childhood and adolescence. So simulat sa pool, habang buntis pa yung mommy, hanggang sila infant, hanggang toddlers, and up to school age, dapat kompleto talaga ang kanilang food, hindi lang sa energy, pati sa micronutrients.
Okay. So, important, no? Energy and micronutrients. Pero, Doc, syempre, as a pediatrician, nakaka-receive tayo ng mga patient, especially pag well-child visits, no? Ang laging tanong ng mga magulang, is our child getting enough nutrients or at risk for micronutrient deficiency? So, paano natin malalaman kung may micronutrient deficiency or at risk yung bata?
Pwede nating malaman yan using the growth charts. Di ba minention ni Dr. Guno kanina sa atin na even if a child who is Filipino who is genetically feeling natin hindi dapat tumatangkad, can have the potential to grow as tall as their other counterparts in other parts of the world if they grew up in that environment. Etong growth chart, World Health Organization growth chart that is global of breastfed babies. And napapakita dito na yun na nga, kung masundan ng bata ang kanyang potential for growth, di ibig sabihin napapakain ng tama. So Filipinos actually who are receiving enough food fall somewhere in the middle or above. No? But sometimes we do not want to pressure children also to go beyond their potential. Kung pinanganak na below the green, no, nakita natin yung dots along the green line. Kung pinanganak sila below the green, yun na rin yung potential ng bata. So, nagkakamali rin ng mga magulang minsan kasi sumosobra yung expectation, no? Kaya nadi-disappoint sila. So, these growth charts are very useful for us pediatricians and also for the parents to track ano ba yung potential ng anak ko, napapakain ba siya ng tama, ibig sabihin nakakasunod ba siya sa growth niya in terms of the WHO, World Health Organization growth chart. Kung kulang sa macronutrients at micronutrients, lumalabas dito na kulang ang kanilang growth.
Okay. So, growth chart is important for the tracking. Pero Doc, di ba minsan yung growth chart nasa normal or minsan above pa dun sa green line or ano. Pero is there an instance na kahit okay yung growth chart and above pa yung growth chart niya, is there an instance that the child is still deficient, has nutrient deficiency?
Junie, that's a very good question. And the answer is yes, there's a chance that even though on the growth chart, the child looks well nourished, pwede pa rin siyang merong micronutrient deficiency. Ang tawag dito ay hidden hunger. No? So if there is type 1 nutrient deficiency, the growth of the child may be preserved. Ang kanyang growth chart is sapat pa rin, no? At maganda pa rin. Sa mata natin, ang tingin natin mataba naman or mataas naman yung bata. Kaya lang, meron na rin pala siyang mga micronutrient deficiencies that allow him to grow but make him not as healthy as he should be. Examples of these type 1 nutrients are vitamin C, vitamin B, no, and also vitamin D and vitamin A. Pwedeng tumangkad, pwedeng mataba ang bata, pero hindi naman pala sila healthy. Only the type 2 nutrients lead to growth failure or a decrease in growth pag kulang siya. So nice question to ask and nice learning for the feeders out there.
Okay. So mas kailangan palang bantayan, Doc, yung hidden hunger na tinatawag. Pero meron din concept of triple burden of malnutrition. Ano naman po yun, Doc Karen?
Doc Junie, na-mention to ni Dr. Dumlao sa kanyang very concise and thorough and inspiring opening remarks. No, there's a triple burden of malnutrition. Hindi lang payat, hindi lang batang hindi pansot o hindi matangkad or hidden hunger or micronutrient deficiency ang ating inaalala, pati ang overweight and obesity is a form of malnutrition. Minsan favorite lalo na ng mga grandparents na chubby ang bata. It's actually a form of malnutrition that increases the risk of chronic illnesses like diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, even up to adulthood. No? So actually, this triple burden of malnutrition, isa lang ang pinanggagalingan niyan. A poor quality of children's diets. In fact, 2 in 3 children are not fed the recommended minimum diverse diet for healthy growth and development, putting them at risk of triple burden of malnutrition.
Okay. So na-mention yung minimum diverse diet. So ang hirap, no, 2 out of 3, no, children. So but there are so many options out there, no, which can make meal planning both easy and hard for the parents. Now I want to ask our participants again, our audience, no. So do you think it's bad to give your 6-month-old baby chicken, rice, and vegetables right away? O dapat ba ano lang, cereal lang, yung mga rice cereals, or yung iba, di ba, parang dati uso nutritious ba yon? So, meron tayong nag-respond na no. So, hindi daw masama, no? Okay. It's not bad po. Okay. Started BLW at 6 months. Meron tayong nag-start na ng BLW. Okay, no? Ang galing ng mga participants natin, no? Talagang ano na, mukhang may background na sila, Doc Jean. Pero Doc Jean, how do we choose what to serve our children during meal times? Are there guidelines to make it easy for parents to plan a healthy meal?
Yes, Dr. Junit. So ang emphasis talaga is yung diet diversity. And then of course, nagsisimula siya sa human milk. It really is the best source of infant nutrition, exclusively in the first 6 months. And then of course, continued while yung complementary feeding must start siya ng 6 months. Lahat ng nutrients that's needed for the infant's growth, lalo na para maging matalino at maging matangkad, and nandun siya sa human milk. In fact, ang breastfed baby, 5 to 8 points higher ang IQ nila dun sa mga compared to the non-breastfed.
Okay. So, pag 6 months naman po, Doc, paano yung natin gagawin?
Okay. Kung noon nga, so meron nag-mention sa chat na yung Go, Grow, Glow Foods. Ganun pa rin naman, hinati lang sa iba-ibang Kaya yung recommendation na every bowl, 4 out of the 7 food groups. So yung Go Foods, yun yung nagbibigay ng energy, yun yung rice, potato, other root crops like kamote, gabi, ube, bread. And then yung grow, what will really make a child grow taller? Yung proteins. So nakahati siya sa 4. So yung animal source, yan yung mga chicken, fish, beef, lean pork. And then hiwalay na grupo yung eggs. Hiwalay na grupo yung dairy products. And then yung mga plant-based proteins tulad ng mga munggo, lahat ng klaseng beans, peanuts. Yung vegetables and fruits, hinati siya sa 2. So iba yung colored fruits and vegetables kasi yun yung mga high in vitamin A, and then iba yung green leafy vegetables. So it's really mix and match. You can choose any 4 in every bowl of food. And pwede ring dagdagan ng 1 kutsaritang vegetable oil kasi kulang talaga sa fats ang mga Filipino children in general.
Okay, Doc. Meron ba tayong parang visual guide na easy to understand that we can share to our participants?
Yes, Dr. Juni. So yan yung pinggang Pinoy. So kung makikita natin dyan, hindi naman talaga parang equal na divided into 4 yung plato. Pero makikita niyo parang mas madami naman yung percentage nung carbohydrate, yung kanin, at saka yung gulay. And then eto na lang, mas simple yung protein. Kung ano yung size nung kamao nung bata, nung feast, more or less yan yung size ng protein. So kunyari, magbibigay ng chicken, more or less yung size ng feast nung bata.
So hindi pwedeng size ng kamao natin, Doc, no? Kasi masyadong madami na yon. Okay. Doc, so yan, kailangan ba nating maging strict dun sa sa portions, and also mahirap bang gumawa ng pinggang Pinoy? Medyo syempre yung mga natin parents out there, minsan busy sila. Paano ba gumawa ng pinggang Pinoy?
Hindi naman, as I said, it's mix and match, any 4 groups. Etong mga nakita ngayon natin sa slide, yung Food and Nutrition Research Institute natin, parang nagpa-contest sila. Tapos ito yung mga sinabmit ng mga mami. So makikita ninyo na basta may kanin, may ulam, tapos naglagay sila ng vegetable, whether that's green leafy o kaya a colored vegetable and fruit, and then water after. So, and then kung hindi man nagawa for a particular meal, pwede naman for the day. Na basta we ensure na 4 out of the 7 food groups na ipasok natin to ensure na lahat ng nutrients talaga makuha, to ensure na mas matalino yung bata at mas tatangkad siya.
Okay. Thank you, Doc Jean, for that. No? At least may visual guide na tayo. Pero Doc, nakalimutan ko palang itanong kanina, di ba pag nag-start tayo ng mga complementary feeding, hindi ba pwedeng yung, kasi dati ang sinasabi lang, 1 food at a time ang isa-serve. Ano pa yon? Applicable pa rin ba yon? Parang introduce 1 food at a time, minsan mashed potato or mashed squash. Is this still applicable today?
Apply lang yun dun sa mga kung may strong family history ng allergy. In fact, as Minnie Rose has already posed the question here, thank you for bringing that up, na bakit daw yung mga ibang pedya would advise starting from 4 months. Okay, so we said dun sa WHO recommendations, exclusively breastfed, ayaw nating i-undermine ang breastfeeding. Kaya ang recommendation 6 months. Pero doon sa mga may risk ng allergy sa family at o kaya yung mga may history ng celiac disease sa family. So ang recommendation ngayon is simulan ng introduce yung mga allergenic foods from 4 to 6 months para hindi ma-prevent ang food allergy. So depende doon sa situation.
Okay. Nako, thank you, Doc Gino. So, thank you for guiding us with the Pinggang Pinoy. And mukhang magiging confident na ang ating mga participants to prepare their meals for their children. However, syempre, still, a lot of commercially available products are out there, such as juices and biscuits. Now, I would like to ask our audience again, do you think, are juice and biscuits bad for kids, serving them juice and biscuits? Are they bad? Can you please type in your answers in our chat box? No, from Ma'am Rina Joy. Okay, let's wait for others to respond. Okay, no. Okay. Meron pa ba? Ayun. Okay. Ito ang maganda. Yung kay Ma'am Eliza. No po, but not too much. Meron siyang okay. Or dapat natural. Okay, now let's ask for our expert opinion. Doc Karen, what can you say about it?
So the answer there is like what a lot of our participants said, no, in moderation. One mentioned the timing is important, no, and some really outright said yes, if it's because it's high in sugar, yes, it's bad. So that's how we would want to think about sugary foods and biscuits and drinks. These are easy to provide snacks to the children that we take care of. But at the same time, we have to remember what is the nutrient value of the snacks we provide them. We have to remember that popular food choices are not necessarily healthy. Dr. Dumlao earlier mentioned about food marketing, no? Pati sa social media, may presence ang certain food products that are sold. So let's be critical about the food we provide our children with, taking into account that we need the value of convenience, pero gusto pa rin natin gawin ang pag-provide ng minimum diet diversity, kagaya ng minention ni Dr. Jean. So these are the list of energy-dense but low-nutrient value foods that have been studied, no? So pinag-aralan nila sa Korea yung mga usual snacks ng mga school-age children at pinag-alaman nila kung ano nga ba yung kinakain nila at ano ba yung nutrient density nito. So hindi nakakagulat na low nutrient density pala ang confectionaries, candy, sweetened ice cream, chocolates, ice cream. Hindi naman nakakagulat yon. Pero kasama sa listahan ang breads, kasama sa listahan ng processed milk, fermented milk, yogurt drinks, no? Fish, meat, sausages, feeling natin protein na yon, di ba? And fruit and vegetable beverages are also part of this list of low nutrient density foods that are high in energy. So magandang mapag-alam natin ito. So ibig sabihin, we can use some of them to provide, for instance, the grains that is part of the 7 major food groups that Dr. Aguno mentioned earlier. But a plate of a child, even during snack time, should contain other nutrient-dense foods, no, or high nutrient value foods, like a glass of milk, or a piece of fruit, or some nuts, no, some nuts along with a snack. So the answer to the question is yes and no. And I think alam na rin ng mga participants natin sa Zoom, no, when they commented there that it should be given in moderation. The last note there, Junie, is, Doc Junie, is the timing. Na-mention din po ng participant natin yon. Tama po na dapat meron tayong pinipreserve na feeding and fasting cycle. Kung pinakain natin ng biscuits 1 to 2 hours before the lunch or the scheduled dinner, asahan aasahan po natin na busog yung bata at hindi makakakain ng healthy meal that we prepared for dinner or lunch. So let's remember that children can actually handle 3 to 5 hours fasting in between meals depending on their age. Even infants breastfeed on their mothers every 3 hours. So iwasan po natin yung abot ng mga juices or snacks or biscuits in between major meal times and major snacks.
Okay. So it's a good point, Doc, no, na ano pa rin, parang although mga low nutrient density foods sila, pero pag sinama natin sila with other food groups that are healthier, it will balance naman pala. And also, ang kailangan talaga is proper scheduling and timing. Pero syempre, meron din tayong mga canned meat, instant noodles, and other packaged foods, no? Are they also low nutrient density food? Anong difference niya, Doc, sa whole foods? Can you explain it further to us?
So yes, packaged foods will also fall under low nutrient density in general. Minsan, may packaged foods that are properly labeled that they are fortified with a certain nutrient. Merong mga vitamin D or vitamin A or iron fortified packaged foods. So that's something we can benefit from as well. Pero hindi pa rin po niya mapapalitan ang minimum diet diversity, serving at least 4 out of 7 major food groups on a daily basis. So ang packaged foods po, very convenient for parents, but we also remember that they are not the best in terms of preserving the micronutrients. For instance, pag packaged, hindi na po siya may preservatives na rin po siya that may also be potentially harmful to children. One specific additive also that is artificial that we know can contribute to poor health in children is artificial sugars. Marami na pong artificial sugars out there that are cheaper than usual table sugar, which is sucrose, no? Maraming artificial sugars ang ginagamit ng manufacturers, and it's been discovered to impact the health of our gut microbiota, yung good bacteria sa gut natin, and can also increase the risk of obesity and also gut microbiome associated diseases in the long run. So yun po yung pag-iisipan natin. Kaya kung pipili po tayo, whole foods is better. Ano bang whole foods? Yung pagkain binibili sa palengke na naluluto ng buo, no? To form a nice meal. Mas matagal siya i-prepare, hindi kasing convenient, but we know the nutrient value is higher. So kung tayo rin ay mag-order ng takeout dahil madali ang takeout, no? Isipin din po natin ito, 'di ba, Doc Junie? May takeout na packaged foods ang gamit kagaya ng nuggets versus takeout na sinigang o kaya adobo, so or kaya inihaw na buong manok, no? Or that's better when we make our choices in deciding for the healthy meals of our children.
Okay. Now, so paano tayo shift, Doc, to a more healthier choices? Can you guide our participants? Paano?
So we want to shift happily, no? So knowing that there are benefits that we want to gain from, like convenience, at the same time there are better choices out there. So kunwari ang takeout convenient, pero pwede rin tayo mag-isip ng whole foods takeout versus packaged food takeout. Tapos hindi rin tayo mag-ililimit ang sarili natin because we know there are healthier choices out there. For instance, if we want to choose snacks which are easy to munch on, instead of low nutrient value snacks like chips, we can provide children with singkamas, kunwari, or carrot sticks. If we start early, we'll be surprised that they will like that more, no? That they are open to whatever you serve. In terms of sweet snacks, let's not forget that sweet fruits are highly enjoyable. Ang dami nating tropical fruits that people all over the world are jealous of, no? Dito sa Pilipinas. Isang natutunan namin sa mga magulang ang pag-freeze ng certain fruits like slices of orange or frozen grapes, no? When the children pop it into their mouth, they're actually very happy. No need to buy unhealthy ice candies, no, or ice creams if you freeze fruits. So and so on and so forth. We also choose whole grains versus refined grains, nuts versus cookies. No, we think about these things and do it happily.
Okay. So may ano naman pala, there are ways to shift to a more healthier choices. Thank you, Doc Karen. Pero you've mentioned earlier about sugar, no? When can we start giving it and what is the limit? Meron bang limit sa mga kids natin?
So that's a good question, Doc Junie. No, sugar is essentially withheld in complementary feeding until 12 months of age. No, we don't want to give added sugars. Children are allowed to enjoy the natural sweetness of foods during complementary feeding until 12 months of age. At nagkakaroon, may studies na pag nag-introduce ng sugar before, nagkakaroon ng likeness for sweetness. So may programming, merong programming, parang pre-diabetic programming, no, early metabolic programming that will put them at risk of diabetes later on. So afterwards, after 12, parents are free to offer table foods and the usual family meal times. Yun na rin yung panahon na dapat ang mga parents pag-isipan, sobra bang matamis yung ating mga kinakain or iniinom? Because children, toddlers especially, they won't gain much from high sugar intake. Added sugars should actually be avoided in children even up to 2 years of age. That's the recommendation. So we want to limit yung energy intake nila from added sugars to just less than 5%. Gusto natin ang kanilang energy is from whole carbohydrates, no? Kunwari, kanin, patatas, tinapay, sana hindi pa refined. And ang culprit for added sugars is usually bottled drinks, no, or sweetened drinks. Tandaan natin na sa isang bote, usually merong at least 6 na kutsaritang sugar dyan, or about 25 grams of sugar. That's already 100 kilocalories from just one bottle of an energy drink. So sometimes umaabot pa yan ng 10 or 15 teaspoons depending on the type of drink that we give to our children. So let's give fresh fruits, let's give water alone, and milk, the regular milk requirement of a child, and avoid extra added sugar. Hindi po tayo nagkulang pag hindi natin sila bibilan ng matatamis. Paminsan-minsan pwede as part of the family meal time dahil may nagregalong cake, no, we will serve it. But let's be conscious of not giving added sugars and limiting it to at least less than 5% of the total energy intake.
Okay, Doc. So ang laki pala nung sugar dun sa mga sodas, no? Sa mga soft drinks and yung mga prepared juices, no? So we need to be mindful in giving it to our children. Kahit ang gandang tingnan na umiinom na sila ng mga ganon, hindi pala dapat, no? We need to be mindful. Now that we know about the importance and basics of nutrition and how to make healthy food choices, kung ano yung ipapakain natin sa ating mga anak, it is also important to know how we can give the food to our child, kung paano naman natin ipapakain ito. Since feeding is parenting. And as a pediatrician, I've seen rising concerns of parents having children with feeding difficulties, and yung children nila, they refuse to eat, prefers watching TV or playing with their toys, and they are messy, no, while eating. So for the next part of this webinar, Doc, we will show a video of a child interacting with her mother during breakfast. So I would like to ask the audience later on kung ano ang masasabi nila dito sa video na to. Let's watch it.
For breakfast? No, you eat your breakfast. There's bread with peanut butter, cereal. Why? You want to eat banana. You like ice cream? Ice cream? Or you say ice cream, please, mommy. Okay, I give you ice cream. Wait a minute, okay?
I want a banana.
Here you go. Ice cream for breakfast. Let me open it for you.
Green one.
Yeah. breakfast.
One.
Yeah, it's a great one.
So napaka no, interesting yung video. Ang tanong natin, nangyayari ba yan sa bahay ninyo? Ano po yung our audience? I would like to ask our audience, does it happen in your home? No? Sometimes. Okay, from Ma'am Rachel. Okay. Di ba ang hirap? Tapos nakakaano yung mommy, napaka-pleasant. And then, uy, si Ma'am Juvie, a big no, hindi daw nangyayari. Pero as you can note, no, yung parent dun po sa video natin, yung pinagbigyan niya yung gusto nung anak niya, more of an indulgent type, no, yung behavior. Meron po bang iba? We'll ask no? We'll wait for the responses from our audience. So yung isa sometimes, yung isa big no. No po, abang, gagaling ng ating mga participants Let's wait. FB. Nako, sa experience ko, hindi ko sila tinotolerate. Ayun po yung sabi ng ating FB. Okay, tapos kay Ma'am Jani din, our FB participant, no po. No, ay ang galing. Nako, Doc Jean, what can you say about the video and how do we address this?
Okay, so isang halimbawa ito ng ng indulgent type ng parenting. No, okay sana no, ang positive points about the video is the tone no by which the mother was actually talking to the child. So parang very pleasant. So we said mealtime should really be a pleasant time. And then yung nagpe-parent tease, yung parang in a sing-song manner no, na-emphasize yung vowels kasi that's one other way to teach speech actually to a young child. And then, of course, ang opportunity for improvement dito is kasi parang pinagbigyan, na pinigay yung ice cream. And then, yung bata nagsabi na actually na I want a banana. So sayang nagsabi na nga siya na gusto niya yung whole food, parang na-miss yung opportunity. So of course, this video was just a reenacted video just to demonstrate indulgent parenting. Ang consequences nito in the future is, hindi alam nung bata yung limits. Kasi our role really as parents is to set limits in everything. Hindi lang tungkol sa feeding, basta everything about life, you decide ano ba talaga yung limits and then you implement. So a child na lumaki na walang limits, hindi niya alam, so mas siya, mas may risk-taking behavior siya later on, may tendency ring maging aggressive kasi hindi niya alam na hindi appropriate yon. So parang it will carry on into the personality actually of the person as an adult.
Okay, so hindi din po pala, Doc, maganda na laging binibigay ang gusto ng anak, no? So, and it will have a consequence later on in life. Now, I'll show you another video. Ito naman at interacting with her nanny during lunchtime.
Alexa, your lunch is adobo at saka puso ng saging, ha?
Ayaw ko vegetable.
Kailangan mo kumain ng vegetables. Magagalit si mami mo.
Ayaw ko vegetable.
Okay, kailangan mo kumain.
Ayaw
your
ko.
mouth. Open
Ayaw
your
ko.
mouth. Open your mouth na.
So dito iba naman yung scenario, no? Iba, no? So dito yung nanny, no, parang more of na pilit niya yung bata. So our audience, can you type in your your comments about this video? What can you say? Iba yung interaction no? From then dun sa previous one. Yung isa binigay niya yung kung ano yung gusto ng anak niya. Pero for this video, nagpinilit ni Yaya, ng nanny. So, can you type in your comments? What can you say, our dear audience? Kung ano ang masasabi niyo sa video natin. Don't be forceful, sabi ni Sir Arthur. Okay. Ito maganda, Doc Gino, yung sinabi, parang may madedevelop na trauma sa bata pag pinilit. So, si Ma'am Zeros naman, I don't do this to my child. Di ko siya pinipilit. If ayaw niyang galawin ang nasa plato niya. Okay. Si Ma'am Ana naman, she's not comfortable, no? With Yaya shoving the spoon. And then, from our FB, ang sabi naman ng isa nating FB participant, homeschool learning tutorial, actually ako inuuto ko sila para kumain talaga sila. So in a way. Okay, Doc Jean, how can we address this controlling type of behavior, no? Yung parenting or caregiver style.
Okay, yung positive muna, no? So, yung the yaya actually inexplain muna niya, 'di ba sinabi niya ang ulam natin for now is may vegetables kahit chicken. So, tama naman 'yon, a carer should be able to psychologically you explain what you intend to do first. Then of course, ang opportunity for improvement dito is yung nag-force feed. So we said, in this type of controlling type of parenting, the outcome is very low naman yung self-esteem ng bata kasi lagi na lang siyang kinokontrol ng adult o ng parent. So wala siyang self-esteem, and therefore paglaki niya, mataas yung stress level, anxious siya, tapos andyan na rin yung depression, and then also mataas din yung risk-taking behavior nila. So yung Junie, I'd like to sagutin na natin yung isang tanong kasi nung parent na paano ba talaga magpakain ng fruits and vegetables?
Okay, Doc. Sige, Doc.
Okay, nagsisimula yan sa pagbubuntis. Dapat yung pregnant mother, kumakain siya ng fruits and vegetables para yung flavors, nandun na siya sa amniotic fluid. Naaamoy na actually nung fetus. Kasi yung odor ng food is actually stronger for flavor than the actual taste. And then during breastfeeding, the mother should continue to eat a diverse diet with vegetables and fruits para yung flavors ng kinakain niya nagpapass on sa breast milk, expose na yung baby sa flavors. Kaya pagdating ng 6 months at in-offer yung vegetables, of course, mashed o kaya pinadaan sa strainer, mas accepting. And then dapat yung adult nasa harap ng bata na kumakain din pinapakitang masarap ang vegetables and fruits. Hindi yung pinapakain lang alone. I-answer ko na rin yung isang question nung sinabi ng isang mom na hindi niya mapakain ng rice. Okay, tama naman siya na she looked at other alternatives such as ng carbohydrate tulad ng potato, kamote, yung sweet potato, gabi, ube, or bread. Ngayon, bakit hindi kumakain ng rice? Probably may problema siya doon sa flavor, sa texture, sa color. So, pwede mo na siyang ganun mag-food chaining, tama yon, use mo na other sources, and then you can offer a preferred food first and then try to offer yung rice. Kasi since rice ang staple food ng Filipinos, parang importante ding ma-train. So you may have to expose 40 to 50 times kahit nakikita lang ng bata, naaamoy lang niya yung odor ng rice, payag lang siyang nasa fruit. So you praise for every attempt na sensory experience ng child.
Okay, Doc. Now, ang gaganda ng input nyo, Doc, no? So, ang natin is kailangan din talaga yung titingnan mo yung response ng nung child para maging responsive ka din. Now, yung dun sa Doc, ito may question, Doc. Paano po yung son ko abruptly di na kumakain ng rice and fruits and dati niya namang kinakain? No? Even rice ayaw na, puro donuts. So, okay. Address natin to, Doc.
Maraming salamat, Sir Rafael, dyan sa question mo. So, ganito yun yung from 6 months to 18 months, wala pa talagang preferences yung bata. So that really is a critical window to introduce the variety of foods. It's human instinct na pagdating ng mga 2 years old or yung toddler, parang nagkakaroon siya ng fear of new food. Kasi, di ba naglalakad na yung bata, baka makakain siya ng poison. Kaya kailangan nakikita niya ang adult sa harap niya na kumakain ng itong iba-ibang klaseng foods para niya ma-realize na hindi pala yan poison. So it's a human instinct, yung neophobia of a fear of a new food pagdating ng mga toddler years. So kung consistent lang na ino-offer, then eventually ma-accept. But the problem is parang na-mention na if you offer now ganun, for example yung donuts or syempre mas preferred yun kasi sweet nga siya eh. So kaya magkakaroon ngayon ng na ayaw na niyang mag-try ng rice. But as I said, there is hope. We said again, yung sensory experiences, so you can try, sige, you can have your donut if can you try eating itong rice? Or dalawang bagay lang, what will make a child eat? Hunger at saka attention ng adult. So yung hunger, importante talaga na merong offer the food only every 3 to 4 hours. So only water in between to stimulate hunger. And then when there are attempts to try, then praise. Pag ayaw, deadma lang. So the feeder should simply just look away and not give attention to the child pag ayaw.
So we need to have a neutral attitude during mealtime. Tapos, kailangan may magandang scheduling, and also let your child try the new food, no? Yung parang i-expose, Doc, consistently. Huwag pang hinaan ng loob. Tama po?
Tama, Dr. Hindi tayo dapat magalit. Kasi pag nagalit tayo, attention pa rin yun, pero negative attention.
Okay. Sige, Doc. Now, Doc, merong next video tayo, and I think this has a different parenting or caregiver style, no? So let's watch this video. Tingnan natin.
Bella eating oranges. She loves oranges. Bella. Asim. Bella. Bella.
So what do you think about the video, our dear audience, our participants? Ano masasabi nyo dito? Iba naman, no? Ito, mas bata pati yung child natin. She's around 11 months. And by the way, I would like to remind you, the videos that we are showing you are demonstration lang. For demonstration purposes, yan, mga actors natin na nakuha, no? So, they are very talented, nakakatuwa. Let's ask our audience, ano yung masasabi nyo po dun sa video na yon, yung interaction nung daddy dun sa baby, kung paano niya pinapakain yung anak niya. Let's wait for your reply. Okay. So, let's muna, Doc. Ano yung masasabi mo? What do you think about this video, no? Iba siya, no?
So, isang halimbawa nga ito ng responsive feeding. So again, the father was very pleasant in his conversation with the child. And kung mapapansin natin, wala pa ngang one-year-old tong batang to and nakaka-feed ng self. So kasi nga, kaya na nila yung grasp, di ba? Tsaka meron ng parang yung pincer grasp actually from about 7 months onward. So, ito yung isang pwedeng gawin. Allow the child to touch the food. So, may sensory experience siya. And then yung feeder, nakaabang lang. So, kagaya ito, nag-attempt din yung father na mag-feed siya. And then, of course, nagkaroon ng sensory experience dun sa maasim. So, and then the parent is eating in front of the child. So, we said, yung appetite ng child, yung magdidictate talaga nung dami nung pagkain ng
Okay. So, Doc, may nag-comment dito sa atin sa Zoom. Good kasi yung child is eating whole foods. Yun yung napansin niya. And the dad is also describing verbally the sensory experience, no? Talagang. And sa FB naman po may nagsabi, good job, daddy. Ang galing, no? So, hopefully yun yung gusto nating maging ng mga parents natin na nakikinig ngayon, no? That we need to be responsive. Pero syempre, ang tanong dyan, Doc, paano ma-enjoy nung bata yung meal time? Kasi gusto natin maging responsive, pero paano nila ma-enjoy yun?
Okay, so merong mga basic principles, no? So, kagaya nito, si Ellen Sutter, isa siya sa parang a nutritionist, dietitian na sinamarize niya sa ganito. Accountability nating parents is what to feed, so only healthy foods, when to feed, in a young child every 2 to 3 hours, in an older child every 3 to 4 hours to trigger hunger, where to feed in a dining table. So a young child can be nga in a high chair. Pag older child, pwede nang paupuin. But accountability of the child yung how much. Kasi nga yung appetite in a healthy child dictates talaga yung gaano ba kadami talaga yung kailangan niya. And as we said, pag nagpa-check up kayo sa pediatrician or sa health center, yung growth curve naman ang magsasabi na appropriate ba talaga yung binibigay natin para doon sa growth ng bata.
Okay. So talagang important pala yung division of responsibility, no? So ulitin ko lang po, where, when, and what is the responsibility of the parent or the caregiver, and how much to eat is the responsibility of the child. Now, thank you for that, Doc Jean. Now, I would like to ask Doc Karen, meron bang ideal setup for feeding? Meron bang ideal feeding environment?
Doc Junie, yes, parents and feeders would want to also think about the feeding environment. No, kasi ang feeding environment, not just the food, also helps children learn about feeding, healthy feeding, and it also promotes their growth. It's a critical factor in the development of healthy eating behaviors in the child. Ano ba dapat ang feeding environment? Dapat free from distractions. Alam ko marami sa atin guilty dyan, no? Para lang makakain ng marami, ang batang ayaw kumain, gagawin na natin lahat. Kahit anong show ilalagay natin sa harap nila, maisahan lang natin ang anak natin na ayaw kumain. Pero kagaya nga ng sabi ni Doc Jean, the child should be the boss of how much and whether. Pwede tayong makontento na intact yung kanilang appetite regulation. Kakain sila pag gutom, titigil pag busog. At usually, natatapos naman ito within 10 minutes, no? The younger children finish their meals until they're full. Within 10 minutes, mahaba na ang 15 to 20 minutes. Kaya, pag nagde-distraction, mapapansin rin ng mga magulang, umaabot ng 1 oras, minsan pa nga 2 oras ang mealtime. Hindi na siya healthy feeding environment. Maganda rin may designated area, meaning at the dining table with the family, at maganda rin may developmentally appropriate chair, like a high chair. Imagine a toddler sitting on a low chair, tapos yung pagkain dumadating sa mukha niya mula sa itaas. Hindi nila na-enjoy. Na-enjoy ng bata pag nakikita nila kung ano yung pagkain nila if it's lower down. So a high chair is actually important, or we can fashion something that allow the child to have the food or the plate lower and below eyesight. No? And last but not least is family meal times. Kailangan pag-isipan ng mga magulang na dalasan ang opportunity na sama-samang kumakain sa isang lamesa sa tamang oras ang buong pamilya. This is the time for families and adults to model healthy eating habits and for the children to appreciate the social aspects of eating.
Okay. So, Doc, yung shared family meal times that you're saying, how does it optimize nutrition?
Actually, magandang tanong yan, Doc Junie. And the answer is already proven based on scientific studies. No, there are reports that shared family meal times is linked to the good health of children and adolescents. So increased frequency is actually associated with decreased risk of being overweight, reduced eating of unhealthy foods, reduced disordered or dysfunctional eating, and increased odds for eating healthy foods. So pinag-aralan na siya. So ganun lang kasimpleng pagpaplano sa bahay na dalasan na natin yung sabay-sabay tayong kumain. Imbis na dun siya sa bedroom niya, sa harap ng TV niya, o kaya sa play area kumakain, at iba-iba tayong oras, gawa na natin ang effort na magsama-sama tayo. And the more times in a week much better, much higher risk of healthier eating for children and better growth. So hindi eto pala may evidence tayo na bigyan ng value ang shared family meal times. Hindi pala siya maliit na bagay lamang.
Okay. Doc, dun sa kailangan ba araw-araw laging magkakasama ang family? Or meron namang parang hindi naman kailangan everyday kasi syempre busy ang mga parents. Hindi nila laging nakakasama ang mga anak nila pag mealtime. Dahil
That's
they
right,
are
Doc
working.
Junie. Alam mo, ang sagot dyan, best effort. No? Best effort. Kung ano yung kaya natin, yung iba weekends lang ang kaya. Yung iba dinner lang ang kaya or breakfast lamang ang kaya. But ang gawin natin best effort knowing the information here na hindi pala maliit na bagay yung ginagawa niyong effort na umupo at relax kayo. And it's not just about sharing family meal times. It's the parents' mindful presence, no? The neutral attitude, the happy socialization that happens. So remember, the feeding environment means no distractions. That also applies to the parents. Dapat wala tayong hawak na cellphone pag nakaupo
Okay.
tayo sa lamesa. At ang isip natin, whether it's trabaho o other issues, mga inaalala natin, ibibitawan muna natin kasi nga gusto muna natin to share a family meal time the way we want our children to be raised in a neutral, happy, relaxed environment.
Thank you, Doc Karen and Doc Jean. Grabe, ang daming learnings. And I'm so excited to impart this to my patient, yung kung ano yung mga natutunan ko sa inyo. Again, today we've learned that nutrition and environmental stimulation has more impact on being smart than the inherited genes. And we need to provide healthy food choices to ensure optimal growth and development of children. And feeding children responsibly will allow them to make healthy food choices and their meal times enjoyable. Now, we are done with the lecture part. We will now open the floor for our Q&A. Madami po akong nakikitang questions dito, Doc, no? Na sa Q&A portion natin. We invite our participants to ask a question. Please write it in our chat box. Our speakers for today will gladly answer your questions. Ngayon, Doc, meron na ako nakita dito from Miss Patricia Ju. Paano po kung underweight? If responsibility ng child yung how much? Doc Jean?
Okay, so yun yung sinasabing kailangan naman mag-catch up growth kung underweight siya. So same pa rin, the principles are the same. We said we need to be able to trigger hunger and then provide attention. So kailangan ngayon ng more calorie-dense foods. Ano bang ibig sabihin nun? So kunyari, may lugaw, dapat malapot yung lugaw, hindi pwedeng masyadong malabnaw. And then pwedeng magdagdag ng 1 teaspoon ng vegetable oil into every bowl of food. And we said, yun yung pag-underweight, doon yung juice and biscuits are bad. Kasi sayang napaka-low nutrient, tapos mabubusog sila sa juice and biscuits, gusto mo ngang mag-catch up growth ang underweight. So kung pwede, whole foods, introduced pa rin, pwedeng small frequent feeds, and then pwedeng ang milk after a meal but not in place of a meal.
Okay.
Doc Guno, maganda yung ni-reinforce nyo na even for underweight, kaya natin silang isolve yung problem just with the same principles. Hindi iniiba yung principles. So same responsive feeding pa rin. Maganda ring i-mention na kailangan siguraduhin rin natin na talagang underweight yung bata based on the growth chart. Kasi meron din tayong tinatawag na misperceived malnutrition or misperceived problem, no? Pag growth chart pala, good nutrition, nagugulat pa nga yung ibang magulang, gitnang-gitna, perfect yung weight for in terms of the World Health Organization growth chart. So, ang mga magulang natutuwang malaman na, ay, hindi pala siya underweight. Kumakain pala siya hanggang busog. Kaya pala 10 minutes ayaw na niya. So, the parents actually start to feel good that Misperception ko lang pala, na-compare ko kasi sa kapitbahay o sa pamangkin ko na yung growth chart naman yung kapitbahay, sila pala ang obese at ang merong malnutrition based on the triple burden of malnutrition. So, but right, di ba, Dr. Guno, when we handle our underweight children in the clinics, we prescribe the same feeding principles, but we just make sure we give the calorie-dense foods that Dr. Guna mentioned and make sure that every day the caloric requirements are taken in within the feeding guidelines that we talked about.
Okay, thank you for that, Doc Karen and Doc Jean. Now, meron pong nag-message sa akin, Doc, medyo direct. Reminders lang po for our participants. Please, message us dun sa, message everyone, hindi po dun sa speakers or moderators so that we can see them. So here we have a question from Miss Christina C. Hi, Doc Jean. My son is 26 months old po. Hindi pa po establish yung chewing niya. Willing siya mag-try ng new food, pero if naka-experience siya ng gaging, ayaw niya na po i-try ulit food niya. So, paano po ang ano?
Okay, I would suggest pag mga ganyang seek consultation. So dito po sa Medical City, meron po kaming feeding clinic na as part of under the Center for Developmental Pediatrics. I think kailangan po kaagad ma-assess. Kasi syempre we'd like to rule out meron ba siyang swallowing disorder. And then sa development kasi importante para makakain na maganda yung yung head control ng bata. So kung yung bata parang hindi pa niya makontrol yung neck muscles niya, it follows na ang swallowing and feeding may problema. So I would say seek consultation for that.
Okay, so reminder lang po, pag syempre seek consultation, lalo na pag may involvement ng chewing and swallowing. Okay, thank you, Doc. So, Doc, let's see. Let's add here. Doc Karen, my daughter naman, more on rice, ayaw ng meat and vegetables. 25 months old na po siya. So, how do we address this?
So, Dr. Guno's lecture earlier mentioned division of feeding responsibility, na the child is responsible for how much and whether. So, okay lang yon kung sa mealtime, yun lang ang kinain niya. Pero wag po nating kalimutan na tayo ang responsible for what to feed, when to feed, where to feed. So maski kanin lang ang gusto niya, patuloy pa rin nating ilatag sa lamesa ang well-balanced diet with at least 4 of the 7 major food groups. Hayaan po nating makita niya, mahawakan, maamoy, matikman yung ibang pagkain na hindi niya gusto. While respecting the boundaries and allowing her to eat how much and whether they will eat the food that you prepare. Sa katagalan ng panahon, kakain din siya. Pag tayo ininenervyos kasi kanin lang ang kinain kaninang umaga, tapos bibigyan natin ng biscuits or puro gatas afterwards, edi ang mangyayari po dyan, mabubusog siya. Pagdating ng lunch, hindi na naman sila kakain. So we are stuck in a vicious cycle, no? So it's okay if kanin lang ang kinakain, pero hindi po okay kung kanin lang ang isa-serve natin. So in time, they will change their behavior, especially with increased family meal times that are shared. I hope that answers the question, and I hope that's helpful.
Yes, Doc. Nag-thank you na po si ma'am. Okay. Now, meron pong nagtatanong dito, doctors, na kung normal yung weight ng anak niya, si Mami Au. So, for his...
Maybe I can answer that, Doc Junie.
Apo.
I'll refer it to the growth charts we mentioned earlier. No, so, based on the growth chart, eyeballing it, pasok po sila. Kasi basta within the 2 red lines sa gitna, normal yun. So malawak yung normal, malawak yung bell curve ng normal natin. No? Pero maganda rin pong isipin, hindi lang yung weight for age, yung pangkalahatan po kasi nga may hidden hunger. Tapos meron pong weight na mataas, na normal for age, pero mataas para sa tangkad ng bata. So, ang advice po is consult with your pediatrician to see if your nutritional status, your child's nutritional status is optimal.
So speaking of the growth charts, Doc, so what do you use? The National Nutrition Council chart or the WHO chart po with regards to the child growth standards among Filipino children?
So in our clinic, what we use is the World Health Organization growth chart. The Philippine Pediatric Society so far recommends that, no? Kasi it's a reference, it's a target because they used only breastfed children who were raised in optimal conditions, no? So exclusively breastfed children raised in optimal conditions. So in fact, allowed doon yung mas payat, no? So so hindi tayo stress kasi normal pa rin pala anak ko basta sapat at tama ang pagpapakain. Normal din pala 'yon.
Okay. So yung nagtanong po noon si Ma'am Artesa Marie, no? Thank you for that question. Now, we have a question again from Miss Rachel. So, Doc, my son was diagnosed with ASD. Is food a big factor for his development?
So yes, Ma'am Rachel. Usually, no, yung mga children nga na within the autism spectrum disorder, may sensory integration issue sila. So talagang challenge. What you can do is, ano muna yung mga favorite foods niya and try to categorize kung alin yung magfo-fall nga dun sa Go Food, sa Grow Food, at saka dun sa Glow. Example lang, gusto niya laging puti. Di we have to be creative. O sige, rice yung kanyang carbohydrate. Tapos isip tayo, ano ba lahat ang protein na puti? So pwede tayo mag-try ng white chicken, yung breast, pwedeng white fish. And then ano ba ang vegetables and fruits na puti? So andyan na yung sayote, yung pear, yung mga cauliflower, yung mga ganon. So, and then gagayahin muna yung mga consistency, flavors, textures ng foods na pina-prefer nila, but trying to meet pa rin yung 4 out of the 7 food groups per meal or per day.
Okay, Doc. So, ano pa rin, no? We will follow pa rin yung food diversity, pero make sure na kung ano yung parang gusto niya. So kung tama po kayo, sample, kung puti, doon muna tayo magano. So parang food chaining na rin yung ginagawa, Doc.
Si Mommy May Lucis nagsabi cauliflower. Tama, cauliflower is a white vegetable.
Okay. And then, Doc, meron pong from Sir Arthur. So my 4-year-old son feeds mostly on soup with boiled eggs and potatoes. How can I widen his food choices?
Para sa akin, mas madali nga yung batang mahilig sa mesabaw kasi you can add everything there. So tama ka, Arthur, na habang niluluto yung soup, ay pwede nang ihalo na yung egg so meron ka ng protein and you can yung potato na ngayon. So you just add in now finely chopped green leafy vegetable or a colored vegetable like carrot. Okay. Parang ganun, you can add it into that soup mixture.
Doc. Okay, Doc, meron palang nag-comment sa FB. Can you comment na yung merong parang, di ba yung mga cereals na rice cereals na sa market, no? Na nandoon na daw yung lahat, no? I will not mention the brand, pero yung rice cereals po na good for 6 months up, no? So, can you comment on it? Anong masasabi nyo kung nandun na ba talaga lahat yung nutrition?
Okay, ang real value ng mga ganon, yung mga prepared foods, is really, kunyari, we're traveling at ang hirap naman magdala ng whole foods, baka mapanish. Yun talaga yung purpose nun. Or just really transitioning. But we said, gusto natin talaga early on, matuto na talagang kumain ng whole foods. Kasi you're preparing them actually for the big school and adult food. So we said, just temporary, transitioning, at saka as needed. So, iba pa rin talaga yung whole foods following yung diet diversity na always 4 out of the 7 food groups.
Okay, thank you,
Isn't
Doc.
it also, Doc Jean and Doc Junie, that these packaged foods, limitado rin naman yung flavors eh. So, the convenience is the upside, ang daling mag-travel, dadagdagan mo na lang tubig. Pero limitado yung diversity. Syempre, from 6 months up to before 2 years of age, yun yung golden opportunity for the children to accept a lot of different flavors. Minsan hanggang 200 flavors natututunan nila. After 12 months, pwede na lahat ipakain, pati nga maanghang, di ba? Kung ano yung culturally acceptable sa atin. Kung Indian tayo, curry. Kung Korean, may kimchi, ganyan. So, lahat ng flavors and spices kaya nilang tanggapin before 2. After 2, sabi ni Dr. Guno, may neophobia, takot na sila sa bago. So, the packaged foods, limitado lang rin yung flavor. So, ibang magulang nagdadagdag, di ba? Kunwari yung packaged foods, tapos kung ano yung may carrot na buo dyan, i-mash. Isa pa, yung packaged foods, hindi nyo rin na po-progress yung texture kasi isa lang yung texture. Siyempre, by 12 months of age, dapat kumakain na ng table food ang mga bata. Developmentally, kaya na nilang lumunok ng niluto nyong adobo or sinigang at saka hindi na blender rice. Ang packaged foods, syempre, yung texture, isa lang. So, pwede nyo pong dagdagan. But it's very good for the convenience. But we shouldn't be limited by the possibilities.
Okay, thank you, Doc. Now, we have a question from May Luces, Miss May Luces. My 9-year-old boy, di po talaga mapakain ng rice ever since po. What I do is making nuggets, mix giniling na bigas, grated carrot, cauliflower crops like potato or sweet potato. Is it okay po ba? So parang nagmi-mix and match din siya, Doc.
Yes, as a start, as we said, that's right. No, na you use muna alternative carbohydrate sources. But since nga rice is the staple food of Filipinos, parang importante rin na matutunan siya. So sa ganyang age, yung 9-year-old, pwedeng kasing reward system ang So pwedeng ipakita muna sa kanya sa pictures yung rice or expose lang, and then pwedeng point system or star system. If you're willing to try, you'll get this particular point, and then the points build to a prize. I think sa isang 9-year-old yan yung magwo-work. So without forcing him, basta praising him for efforts na nandyan muna yung rice sa harap niya. And then pag payag siya na nasa plato niya, pumayag siya na amuyin lang niya, okay na. Parang ganun. Keep praising for efforts.
So gradual desensitization, Doc, ang gagawin natin. Now, Doc, we have a question here from Miss Ana Mendoza. What is BLW? So baby-led weaning, Doc. Can you explain or enlighten us more about BLW?
So, Doc Junie, BLW is baby-led weaning. So it's a fairly recent way of or technique of feeding, of starting complementary feeding. Di ba ang complementary feeding, yung unang solid food ng infants na dati breastfeeding lang or formula lang ang binibigay. Normally happens at 6 months of age. So this technique is quite popular and has followers. But as pediatricians, we follow the World Health Organization recommendation of responsive feeding, even for complementary feeding, beginning with complementary feeding. So, ang baby-led weaning kasi, the advantages are children are allowed to self-feed from the very beginning and to choose from what's in front of them, ano yung kakainin nila. And assistance is withheld. No? So, maganda siya kasi nga it allows self-feeding, which is also encouraged by the World Health Organization responsive feeding. Maganda siya kasi diverse din yung introduced food sa mga bata. No, also recommended by in responsive feeding, no, na diverse yung ino-offer na foods. May konting downside siya. Even though a lot of parents actually have very good experience with it, no. The third advantage of that pala is that the parents are very relaxed because they have no pressure. It's led by the baby, then the parents are quite relaxed there, which is also in keeping with responsive feeding, na neutral attitude. You should be relaxed and also pleasantly socializing. So yun yung tatlong advantages ng baby-led weaning that are also promoted in World Health Organization's responsive feeding. May konting downside yung baby-led weaning. Meron reports of increased risk of choking kasi nga malalaki di ba? Para mahawakan ng bata, malalaki. Merong increased chances of constipation kasi ang usually nahahawakan fibrous foods. no? The grains, which are predominantly spoon-fed, are hard for the children to pick up. So yung mga kanin na rice balls o kaya butil-butil na kanin, hindi sila nakakarami doon. So nakakarami sila para mabusog, marami silang kinakain na gulay. For infants who are still too young with developing intestines, no, they actually end up being prone to constipation. Also, some are prone to choking. So that's what baby-led weaning is. It's a choice made by parents. Ako sa pediatrician, I still recommend the World Health Organization responsive feeding guidelines, and also highlight the advantages of baby-led weaning kasi ang ganda ng experiences ng mga magulang sa baby-led weaning dahil nga diverse at saka yung diet ng bata at saka relax sila, no? That's very important.
Okay, thank you, Doc, for enlightening us with the baby-led weaning. Now, meron ulit pa tayong question sa chat box. Hello po, Doc, from Miss Ella Ronks. My 16-month-old daughter keeps on throwing her food po kahit gusto niya po yung food. Ano po pwedeng gawin para ma-stop ito?
Okay, Mami Ella, while normal part of development yan, kasi yan yung concept ng object permanence. So ang bata, gusto niyang itapon ng kahit ano. Gusto niya malaman kung forever ba siya mawawala or babalik siya. So yun yung object permanence. However, parang kung food unacceptable, di ba? As we said, the parent sets limits. So tanungin niyo yung sarili niyo, ano bang acceptable behavior, ano bang hindi? So since hindi siya acceptable para sa iyo, deadma. So pag ginagawa ng bata, as I said, just don't give attention to the child. Move your head away, deadma. And then, so when the child try to feed as well, kung pumapayag siya, opening a mouth, doon yung bigay yung attention. Praise the child. Para maging extinct yung behavior.
Okay, so kailangan pala hindi papansinin, no? Yung parang hindi ka pulot ng pulot or sasabihin mo, anak, wag, kasi mas lalo niyang gagawin. Okay, Doc. Now, Doc, I think you have a patient here, Dr. Guno. Christoph here. Can I eat gluten-free cereals?
Okay, hi Christoph. So, we said ang principle kasi ng mga ganyang special diets, gluten-free, casein-free, etc., kung may evidence na for the particular condition of the child, meron ba talagang evidence? Kung walang evidence, parang masyadong magastos bumili ng gluten-free at napakahirap hanapin. So weighing benefits and risks, kung hindi recommended for the condition, okay. Pero kung may evidence for the particular special condition of the child, then it's okay.
Okay.
Lalo na kung hindi burdensome for the family.
Okay, thank you, Doc. Now, meron pa po ba magtatanong? No? We'll just wait.
So may comment from Zyros na the baby is eating, the parents are eating also. Tama po yan kasi kailangan nga may adult sa harap ng bata. Parang ano yan parang sa wild. 'Di ba yung baby bear at saka yung mommy bear? Natututo yung baby bear, alin ba yung poisonous na berries, alin yung hindi. Sinusundan lang niya kung ano yung ginagawa nung mommy bear.
Okay. Sige. Now, thank you, Doc Jean and Doc Karen. I think we've answered all the questions already, no? You've answered all of it. Wala na pong tanong sa FB and also for sa Zoom participants natin. So, I would like to know any last messages for our audience and participants. Let's start with Doc Jean muna.
Okay, so in the first 5 years of life, bilang mga magulang, meron tayong power to be able to make a child na mas matalino, mas matangkad sa pamamagitan nga ng tamang nutrition at saka environmental stimulation. Kasi nga talagang 80% ang contribution ng environment and nutrition in that first 5 years of life, 20% lang ang genetics.
Okay, thank you, Doc Jean. Now, Doc Karen, any last words to our audience?
I'm happy to be here with everybody talking about eating smart. Gusto kong ibalik yung unang tanong ni Doc Junie na do you feel you need to spend? So I think we also can learn to spend wisely after this webinar, no? Hindi lang po yung pagkain ang importanteng investment natin, pati rin po yung presence natin, no? We talked about increasing family meal times and responsive feeding. So hopefully our participants and delegates now here will feel lighter and happier and more empowered on how to feed their children smartly. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, Doc Jean and Doc Karen, for sharing your expertise and enlightening us on our kids' nutrition. We would also like to thank the family of Dr. Cheryl Castillo and Mr. Carlo Castillo and their son Yago, who serve as models for our poster. Now, thank you very much to all our audience for participating in our webinar today. I hope you had learned a lot from our experts, Dr. Guno and Dr. Mercado. We will be providing a certificate of this webinar. Please join us. Please just scan the QR code and click the link on the chat box. The link will be open until 5 p.m. today. So we will go back to this slide in a while. For inquiries about our pediatric gastroenterologists, Dr. Guno and Dr. Mercado, and other specialists at the Medical City, please contact the Institute of Pediatrics with this number. We'd also like to remind you that if you have any concerns about your child or students, such as school refusal, difficulty in him mastering his learning skills, or any concerns on child's development, behavior, and feeding, please do not hesitate to get in touch with us and avail our services at the Center for Developmental Pediatrics and Feeding Clinic. We offer online and face-to-face consultations. And just a reminder to all parents, aside from COVID-19, there are many vaccine-preventable diseases. Please contact your pediatricians now to get your children's vaccine updated.